Both of my guests this time around are multi-talented. Tony Targan is a writer, actor, director, and runner. His plays have been produced in Michigan, the Midwest, and from New York City to California. He loves all aspects of theater and running, and he writes about both. He says, writing helps me celebrate my passions, process hard times, gain perspective, and share life lessons. Dave Durham is an actor and playwright, and full disclosure, I was lucky enough to be in one of the plays Dave has written. It's called Of Divine Interest. It's both heartwarming and humorous. Dave began writing scripts later in life, his term, not mine. He says he writes for entertainment, but admits that no play is released without a message folded carefully into it. So, now before you guys teamed up, which is what we're going to talk about here, collaboration, obviously you both are very accomplished writers. Can you give me a little bit more information about what you've written as individuals?
Tony, go
Well, I'll jump in.
ahead.
Most of my plays have been short, like 10-minute or one-act plays. I typically focus on comedies. My favorite play is one called Turbulence, which I wrote and Dave Durham starred in when we took it to Michigan Act Fest. We were very fortunate to win the People's Choice Award in that statewide competition. So that was a lot of fun. A lot of my short plays have sci-fi or fantasy aspects to them. I like to take situations and kind of take them to the extreme and see what's funny about that.
And that was Tony. Okay, Dave, you're up.
Well, like I said, I started late, so I don't have a big library of stuff. But I started with short plays, and one of them took off. So that one was called Dear Me, and it was a comedy drama. And it won a whole bunch of awards, the state award here. The and it has gone as far as Dubuque. It was the first place winner at 42nd annual Dubuque Fine Arts Players. Um, and I've got three or four others, short ones. The one full length that got staged is called Of Divine Interest.
Hmm.
And I have the next one is going to be called Back to the Brazen Hussy.
Yes, yes, I've seen an earlier version of that, and I'm glad you're still on it. Uh,
Mhm.
Dave, why did you start writing later in life?
Actually, a friend of mine, friend of yours, Heather Hudson, sat down at one of the banquets that we have at the Rosedale Community Players and asked if I was a writer. Don't know why she asked me, but for the longest time being an actor, if you have an idea for a story, I just wrote it down and then I started writing scripts. And I had scripts in my computer, but I had no history or know-how on how to write plays. So she was opening up a one-act festival and asked me if I would like to contribute, and I did.
Wow, someday you're going to be making that speech on when you accept a Tony Award, and you'll have to mention Heather Hudson for asking you if you're a writer.
The only
Well,
Tony Award I'm ever going to get is a star on the forehead from that guy right there,
I
from Tony.
well, I also have to credit Heather Hudson for my early foray into writing. The first play that I ever wrote was a 10-minute play called Synchronicity, SING, where most of the lyrics were spoken song lyrics. And I submitted that to the RCP One Act Festival as well. And
It's the same one.
same one. Yep. Yep. So we can both trace our origin stories to Heather and the Rosedale Community Players.
Well, I hope she realizes that she's launching careers here. Uh, so you both written individually. What made you decide to collaborate on this project that we're going to be talking about today? Where did that idea come from?
Well, I can say that I had the idea for the original story, but which I can elaborate on in a minute, but having only written 10-minute plays and knowing of Dave's success with a longer play and knowing that we had a friendship and had collaborated on other acting projects, I just thought that it would be a good fit. So the play that we have written is called Nick Ain't No Saint. And it's a Christmas time play about a guy who I would describe as sort of a Grinch-like character who finds himself, while trying to escape from committing a crime, he finds himself in the unexpected position of being the mall Santa Claus. And the play is about how that experience transforms him and changes him and the people in his life. So, um, I had the basic kernel of an idea, and then just in talking with Dave, we were able to flesh it out and really develop the backstories and the characters and the relationships, which I think Dave is great at.
Well, I had been looking for a chance to write a Christmas play. And Tony explained his idea to me and said he thought he might make a good writing team. We might make a good writing team for it. I was excited and wanted to get started.
Was it hard though? I mean, I ask as someone who does not collaborate. I don't play well with other children when it comes to writing. I do collaborate with a musician friend on a couple of musicals, but that's very specific. We have, very specific duties in that. I do the writing of the script and the lyrics, and he does the music. How well did you work together? Was there any disagreement?
Well, I think like with any relationship or process, there's sort of an adjustment period. And I think at first we were both maybe too nice and too accommodating and too polite and not wanting to hurt the other person's feelings by, changing or rejecting their language. So at first there were no disagreements, which actually didn't serve the process well. But I think eventually, as we got more comfortable with each other and understood the goal, which was to have the best play, we got better at saying, well, I don't know, maybe we can say that differently, or that line or that character doesn't really resonate with me, and I don't think we need to do that. So,
Yeah. For me, the collaboration got rid of the echo chamber that a lot of writers have, that you write something, you go, oh, that's so great. It's gonna be hilarious. Wait till they hear this. And you say it to the partner that you're writing with, and they're just looking at you with a blank stare. So you realize maybe you're the only one enjoying the line, and you get to change it and improve it before you display it in front of people. For me, it was Tony's ability to keep on task. The man is driven. He treats his works as his kids sometimes and is very deliberate on where he offers them for production. But he hit it on the head. He and I really like to get those laughs, but I've learned to sit back and ask whether the laugh is for the laugh or only if it fits, if it fits in the scene we are writing.
Your writing styles are different, are they not? I mean, were you worried about making them mesh?
yeah, I mean, I think again, I think we both brought different strengths to the table. I think I liked the instant gratification of making the audience laugh and going for a joke and maybe even being a little more silly or absurd at times. And I think Dave is good at sort of reeling me back in and providing a little more realism as to what the characters might actually do. And I think the strength of this play is the relationships. We have at least two different or three different pairings of people that we didn't really even know going in how their relationships would unfold. But Dave was great at, I was sort of good at the X's and O's, the organization of piecing things together and moving scenes around. And then Dave was good at just sort of driving the action and the dialogue forward.
Yeah.
That sounds like you each brought your strengths to it. That sounds like it went amazingly smoothly. Is that right?
It's surprising and disconcerting in some points. I've gone back and told Tony to take out something I suggested because I was convinced it was going to be a memorable laugh, but I decided, it might confuse or derail the narrative too much. I don't think I would have questioned myself if I didn't have Tony to answer to. And it was a great process. I mean, I enjoyed almost every minute of it because and it was different than single writing style. Collaborating is a whole different animal.
I can
Yeah.
imagine. You took away one of my questions. I was going
I'm
to
so
ask
sorry.
how I was going to ask how did you navigate disagreements? And it doesn't sound like you really had to. Is that right? Who are you people?
I think we had a few, but very minor ones. Like I remember, again, I sort of reverted to my tendency to want to stick some song lyrics in there, and just as dialogue. And Dave's like, why do you always do that? And I was like, oh, I don't know. It's just a reflex. But yeah, it doesn't fit here, and we took it out. But I think beyond any specific disagreements, the things that really could have derailed us were just what was going on in real life. We both had parents and siblings who had health challenges, and sometimes we would have to pause for weeks or months at a time, and just picking up the pieces and restarting and wanting to reinvigorate the process was hard. It was challenging but I think also being able to step back and seeing it with fresh eyes, it also helps from that perspective.
Now, I didn't have to disagree much when I saw something that gave me pause with what he had in front of us. Usually just the fact that I didn't know how to react, clued Tony into the fact maybe we need to play with that section a little. We did that until we both were comfortable with it. Usually didn't take more than half an hour max, but usually was only a matter of minutes. And we both are familiar with each other's work. So we worked to write the play so people would not recognize who wrote what. I'd say that's a good measure of how well co-writers blend. And I want to say something about that music stuff. Like Tony said, his fondness for song lyrics spoken by characters to get a point across was something I brought up. He uses them very effectively, and they usually fit perfectly where he places them. But I'm always looking for an original spoken piece of dialogue that might be more tailor-made for our characters' relationships and situations. You know what? Sometimes there is nothing better than that song lyric, and it stays. For me, my dialogue tends to get wordy, much like this answer. So Tony reins me in quite often and sends me to a corner to get rid of as many words as possible.
Send you to a writer's corner.
Yeah. But I do think
Steve.
one other aspect of the collaboration, a lot of this was done just emailing drafts back and forth with redlining, but there were times, particularly later in the process, where there was no substitute for actually getting together, speaking the lines out loud, and then brainstorming on, well, is there a different way we could say this? And we might say things four different ways, and then we would finally find one that resonated with both of us. And that's hard to do by yourself. It's hard to be your own editor, but that's where I think we really sort of sharpened each other's skills.
Yeah,
Well, the
this
fact
was
that you're both actors really helped you to test out the dialogue, didn't it?
Yeah, we got to play the characters. This was the most fun part of the process. Those days we would read our work, play the characters, and brainstorm were absolute heaven for me. You would have thought we were school buddies coming up with some scheme we were going to unleash on some unsuspecting friend to see their reaction. But we were perfecting what we pictured on stage so we could optimize the audience's engagement and reactions. Oh, the power. But then, oh, the responsibility.
Oh,
Balance
yeah.
is hard.
Tony, this is a little bit outside your usual, isn't it? If you like fantasy and sci-fi elements in your plays, is that one reason why you sought out a collaborator?
Yeah, I mean, for a number of reasons, but I had the idea that I think we both had the idea that we wanted to do a Christmas play, mainly
Mhm.
because, in my opinion, there are not a lot of good holiday scripts. There's only so many times you can do a Christmas Carol or the traditional plays that everybody loves, but you know, I just wanted to do something different. And then, being a person of the Jewish persuasion, I may not have had the experience with you know, the real meaning of Christmas. I knew all the trappings of cultural Christmas, but I thought Dave might have some insights there as well. But really, it's not a religious play. It's not about Christmas as much as it is about the relationships that people have, and sometimes how the holidays can be a difficult time for people who didn't grow up with a happy memory of Christmas. So we try to look at this from a lot of different aspects of the relationships of people around the holidays.
So even though you talk a lot about laughs, it sounds like there is some real substance, a bit of poignancy to it. Is that right?
Well, the backbone is a good story, and we hope that people will relate to the story. The dialogue is the entertainment, we hope, and it should come across. It has for some of the readings. And yeah, you're right. A Christmas story, both Tony and I agree, has to have heart. And if you can see the depth of empathy, the depth of, I guess you could say love, depending on how you define that. As long as you can feel that and be part of it and you engage the audience so that they have an investment in the characters by the end, that's a good Christmas story in my book.
Now, you mentioned readings, and I don't know if a lot of people who are not specifically playwrights are aware, but that's a big part of the developmental process. Can you talk about how yours were done and how they went?
Sure. We had at least two sort of broader readings where we had pretty much full casts. There are like 9 adult parts and 6 parts for children in the play. And we would get together. We kind of recruited actor friends that we thought would fit the parts well because we wanted to give the reading its best showing. And we also recruited readers that had connections with a variety of different local theaters to just sort of plant the seed that this might be something that they'd be interested in someday. But um, it was a very gratifying and rewarding process, and it both showed us what it validated what we thought worked well, and then it raised some questions about structure and character and things that could be improved on. So I
Yeah,
thought it was valuable.
the people we invited also were, in our opinion, qualified to give us feedback from their perspectives from all parts of putting on a community players production. And that's something else we have to consider when we're making the story is how well it'll play. And if there was something in the way of that, we wanted to know up front. And these people that we invited certainly let us know that.
Right. And some had specific experience with youth theater, and we definitely wanted to write a very family-friendly play for all audiences. And while there might be jokes that go over the head of youngsters, there's really nothing. I don't think that it would be hard to find anything offensive about this play. And so again, we were looking for a broad audience, but we also leaned into, some of the Hallmark type cliches that, or characters um, from the holidays that people would really recognize.
Were there, I had a question in my head, now it's gone.
Because we're talking too much.
No,
We are.
that's what you're supposed to be doing. Were there criticisms that were a little hard to take?
Yeah, I mean, again, this was our baby, and we got it to the point where we're like, it's ready to go on stage. And then there were people who, not everyone has our sense of humor, or not everyone felt that certain characters were as important as we thought they were, or I don't know. I guess you have to take all criticism with a grain of salt. But there were some things that were said that we were like, yes, that makes sense. We will fix that. And then there were others that we were like, you know what? We just don't accept that. Thank you for your comments, and we're going to keep it the way it is. We didn't say it that way, but
Yeah, a lot of the criticisms were hard to take at first, but then when we sat down and we wrote them all down, we recorded them, we sat down and listened to them all and went through it. And we realize these people are helping us because there's certain characters and parts of the story that they absolutely love. And some of what we were putting in there was overshadowing their favorite parts. So we were able to make way for the parts that were absolutely hitting. And it wasn't much. It
no,
was it was just to make sure that we responded to how they felt about what they read.
It can all
right.
be useful to an extent. I had a stage reading of a play one time. The play is female centric, and one of the suggestions was to take out all the male characters. It's like, no, to make
Yeah,
it more like an existing play. And I'm like, no, that's not the play I wrote.
yeah.
Um,
That's a good point. We get that a lot. You need to produce a play that people are familiar with. That's a hard tightrope because you have a certain amount of originality that you don't want to give up.
Right.
Right.
Right. If a play has already been written, I don't want to rewrite it. What is the status of your play now? Is it finished?
Well, it's never totally finished. We did submit it to a few local community theaters, and it was not selected for this coming holiday season.
We did submit it a bit late.
Yeah, so we were kind of trying to get it in under the gun, but we did get some good feedback. We're going to go through another round of edits and resubmit this year. Um, one of the questions we got was, is this a comedy or is it a drama? And you seem to be, starting out with a silly comedy and then it gets pretty serious at points. And we're like, well, yeah, it can be both. But I think for some people, they just wanted it to be more of a farce and maybe not as much of a drama. But again, I think that the more often we read it, the more we feel like we're doing what we intended to do, and I think it will reach most audiences once we resubmit it.
Now, you mentioned earlier that you've had an award won in Dubuque, Iowa. Are you going to send this out to the far reaches of the United States? There's community theaters all over, or what is your plan of attack?
You mean for Dear Me is what I was referring to for that,
Okay.
my short play. And it has been sent out, and I have other responses that were very positive. So I'm happy with the way that went. And I expanded that into Back to the Brazen Hussy. It's what it's based on.
I mean, though, are you going to submit your Christmas play to a bunch of different theaters all over, or do you prefer to stay local?
I think eventually we
Yeah,
will. I think that my ideal vision is to get it produced locally. I mean, I would even be happy to direct the first time it goes up, learn from that, hopefully be able to get it published, enter it in some statewide competitions, and then go national. But
right.
I wanted to start local.
Yes, please.
I think Dave would like to be in it too. Is there a role for you while
Yes.
Tony's directing?
Yeah, there's a couple of them.
Awesome. What advice would you have for other writers who, and this is writers of all kinds, whether they're playwrights or fiction writers or nonfiction, about how to go about collaborating with another writer?
Well, I think you need to, first of all, have a very trusting and supportive relationship and friendship with the other person because, if you're vulnerable as a writer or an actor, you're even more vulnerable in a collaborative setting because, you're sort of bearing your soul to your writing partner and you have to be open to criticism. So I think there needs to be a foundation of trust and friendship. You couldn't really just do this with somebody out of the blue. I don't think.
Dave,
Agreed.
anything?
Yeah, I agree. It's at first you have all of your guards up that you normally have when you're trying to be creative. But if you know someone and you trust someone, those start to come down and you have real conversations and they're very productive. And the reward of just having this play the way we like it, and it's really it's a great play. I would love to see it. But you don't get there by putting your guards up and playing it safe. We stuck our necks out and we trusted each other not to chop them off.
Mhm.
And I think at the basis, you both had to respect each other's writing, what you'd already seen of it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
writing and character development. And, Dave had performed in a play that I wrote. I had performed in a play that he wrote. So I think we had a sense of um, the other person's skill as an actor and a writer and director. So that helped lay the foundation.
And Tony, one of your mottos on your website, and before we finish, we need to make sure we get all your information out there for people to check you out, check on you. Is it allows you writing allows you to process hard times. Do you and Dave want to speak to that a little bit? How your writing helps you do that?
Sure. I mean, I used to write for Michigan Runner magazine. I was a regular columnist for them, and I often, um, well, not often, I went to the Boston Marathon, ran the marathon 5 times, but I would also go as a correspondent for the magazine and write an article about my experiences and interview other runners. And the last time that I ran the marathon was in 2013, which was the year of the bombing. And, it was really hard for me to sort of come to grips with what had happened. And, um, just in the process of writing about it, it helped me to, you know, process my own feelings and connect with other runners who actually shared a lot of the same thoughts that I had about what had happened. And, through that process, it helped me grieve, if you will, about the the experience and what had happened. So I think in that way, I like to use writing just to sort of work through my own personal experiences. And, sometimes you can use that and pull things like that into your own writing.
Uh,
Yeah.
Dave, did you want to add?
Well, for me, I had to pull away from writing for family situations. And I noticed that when tried to sit back down to it, you're a different person. So you have to try to add in all of the color that you had to let loose. For a long time, you're just concentrating on that one situation and nothing else seems important. And you have to get back into the mindset that people have everyday annoyances. You dropped your pencil. Well, it's not the end of the world. And you've been dealing with the end of the world for the last 3 months. So you have to add those little things back in. And in that process, it helped me um, notice the world again instead of being concentrated on just one tragedy. Life comes back.
Now, you are both involved in a theatrical production right now. Do you want to talk about that?
Go ahead, boss.
Yes, please. Uh, so I am directing a play at the Farmington Players, which goes up on February 13th through 28th, and it's called The Outsider. It's a satire of American politics and the way that we, as in a democracy, tend to choose our leaders. And it's a very funny play, which contrasts the need for experience versus the need for people who are outsiders or not career politicians. And in that play, Dave plays Governor Ned Newley, who has accidentally found himself elevated to the role, and he's a very experienced governor or a lieutenant governor, but he is not well equipped to deal with the publicity surrounding the office.
At all.
So that is funny. So in this instance, you're collaborating, but Tony's the one calling the shots, and Dave is the actor doing what he's told. Is that right?
No, that's not right. Because like any good director, I view directing as a collaboration with the actors. And while I feel like I bring certain organizational skills and vision and structure to the process, I am very much looking for my actors' input. And we have had so many um, improvisations, not to the script, but just changes to the blocking during the rehearsal process that has just added so much to it. So Dave does a great job of playing a very nervous Nelly who is thrust into this position where he has to either step up or crumble. And it, it's really been a great collaboration both with Dave and the other six members of the cast.
Well, I
Which
look forward.
are top notch, by the way.
Okay, I look forward to seeing it, and we'll put the link to that website in the show notes so anybody in the area can come and see it. And quickly, where can we find both of you online? I know you both have websites and probably social media.
So I'm most active on Facebook, just under my name, Tony Targan, but I do have a website, tonytargan.com, which once it's up to date, we'll have, sort of a history of my experiences with writing, running, and all aspects of theater.
And for me, it's my website is kind of like a creative warehouse. It's www.stagescreenandme.com. You can send me a note, you can look at what I've done, and you can look at what's coming up. And it's the central place to get a hold of me.
Okay, and we'll put all the links in the show notes too, because I know just hearing it is hard. I'm always
Yeah.
like, wait, what did they say?
What was that?
Well, thank you very much. Is there anything you'd like to add about writing or about specifically collaborating as writers to help people on that journey if they choose to take it?
Well, I would say, like a lot of things, especially related to the theater, don't let your own inhibitions stop you from trying. I've had so many people say, "Oh, I want to write or I want to act," and I'm like, just do it. Just start. Start with a 10-minute play and show it to a group of other writers, or go to an audition. And like a lot of things, you're not going to know unless you try. And then once you try and have some taste for it, you can actually learn and improve. But there are just so many people who, when I say, "Oh, I would love to do that," I'm sort of a victim of my own excuses here because my father was a writer and taught creative writing, and I was just so intimidated by him for years that I didn't write. And when I did show him my early writings, he was not necessarily complimentary, but I stuck with it and I do it because I love it. But I had to get over myself before I would even start.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Dave, anything to add?
I would just give the advice that it is fun. And so enjoy the process. If you go to collaborate with someone, make sure it's someone you have a good time with.
All right. Well, I so appreciate you taking the time to talk to me today. This has been enlightening. Who knows? I might want to collaborate with somebody in the future. It could happen.
I'm right here.
Take
Thank
care,
you,
and I look
Maureen.
forward to seeing your show.
Great. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Maureen. Great.